All right, today is e-collar day, and so I'm going to introduce to you all about the tool. We're going to unbox it together, make sure you understand some of the technical sides to it. The training part with the dog, we'll get to that later. This is all about just understanding the tool itself. All right, so let's get into it. So first off, there are two options that we can choose from as far as our e-collars. Number one, we're going to stick with the brand e-collar technologies. So there's that, but they have two options depending on the size of your dog, okay? So for a majority of dogs, you're going to be using the Mini Educator by e-collar technologies, okay? If you have a dog that's less than 20 pounds, you're gonna go with the Micro Educator, and that's this box right here. Really the only difference with the Micro is that the box is a bit smaller, a bit lighter, so a little more comfortable for a smaller dog. But really, you could use the Mini. It wouldn't be the end of the world. But especially for those dogs that are even tinier, like 10 pounds or under, you definitely don't want to go with this. Yes, it'll still look a little chunky on your dog, and just gotta push that out of your brain and not let it get to you too much. Your dog's gonna be absolutely fine, so no worries there. It's just gonna look a little funny, but again, you're gonna go with your Micro for that. All right, so let's go ahead and open the Mini Educator box. They're both really the same. So we're not gonna go through both, but we're gonna go through this box right here. So first off, yes, it has a 1/2 mile range, the Micro a 1/3 mile range. We're gonna go ahead and open it up. Now, e-collar technology is the brand you wanna go with because, well, the customer service is pretty awesome. I personally love the brand. The product is excellent, never really had any issues. If for some reason though you do, you can always contact them and they will take care of you, okay? But as we unbox it, we'll notice we got our remote, we got our receiver, right, our collar, we got our charger, we have a lanyard if that's your deal, if that's what you like, and you got your little extra tools in case you need them. If you pull this plastic part up, you have your manual underneath, okay? Now I'm going to pull out piece by piece and go over it. So first off, we have our charger. Okay, so battery life on these e-collars usually will last you a couple days. So if you have it on all day, it's definitely going to last you a couple days. Rule of thumb though is I always put on the charger every other day just to avoid any dead battery, and I'm always ready to go. It has 2 charging ports, okay, 2 charging connectors. That's because the remote and the collar each have their own battery and battery life, so they need to be charged all on their own. They are 2 separate devices that communicate to each other. So you need to make sure you charge both of them, but they give you 2 charging connectors to do so, okay, so you can charge them at the same time. They charge pretty fast, usually in about an hour or 2 or something like that, depending on how dead they are, of course. All right, again, you got your lanyard, big look, okay, and you got your little accessories here. So these are some extra contact points, the standard ones that come on your collar already. They work for majority of dogs. If your dog has a bit longer fur, a bit thicker fur, you might go ahead and try these, and that should work well. Okay, and then in here are your little devices. This one right here, I'll take it out of the box. This little device right here is to unscrew the contact points on your collar. So when you pull out your collar, you got those. So when you pull out the collar, you got those contact points. You stick this right here, boom, 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 unscrew it, it'll come off. Okay. Then this is for it's not important. This is to test your stimulation on your box in case you are ever curious if it's actually working. You can test it here without having to feel it, but I always put it on your skin and feel it. But maybe you don't want to, so there you go. Okay, so those are your extra little tools that it comes with in case you should need them. All right, now to the important part is the collar and the remote. Okay, so here is your collar. All right, so this is what you're gonna put on your dog. It comes with this biothane collar. If you don't like this, if you prefer something else, you can go onto Etsy and they got really cute ones. There's people out there, or e-collar technologies does sell some different collars that come in a few different colors, not a huge variety, and they're nylon. So if you have a preference, there's that. If not, this will work just fine, and then you can cut it once you have sized it to your dog. Okay, so you don't have to have the super long collar. Okay, so if we look at the box, we'll notice it's got its 2 contact points. That's what we need to make sure we make contact with your dog's skin as best as possible. So this collar should fit snug on your dog's neck. That is very important. Now, I'm not saying you need to choke your dog out, but it also shouldn't be loose to where it's like easily sliding around your dog's neck, okay? The 2-finger rule, it don't count, okay? That's really a myth that really has no purpose in any collar whatsoever, okay? With your e-collar, when you need to fit snug, you shouldn't fit 2 fingers under your collar, okay? So make sure it fits snug. Really what you're looking for is once you place it on your dog and you've sized it well, the box should move with the skin of your dog, right? So if you were to rotate the box on your dog's neck, the skin should follow the box, okay? It shouldn't slide around the neck. The skin should go with it. That makes sense, okay? That's when you know you have a good fit. You also want to like shimmy it in the fur of your dog, especially if they have long or thick fur, kind of like maneuver it in there and see if you can get as close to the skin as possible. If you just put it on top of your dog's fur, well, they're probably not going to feel anything because there's a layer of fur in between. Okay, so this is really important. We need to make sure that we have good contact as best as possible with the skin. Okay, so those are a few little tips to make sure that you have a proper fit. If you have it on and they don't feel it, you might as well throw it in the garbage. It's not going to do you any good. Okay, so make sure you have contact. Now, if for some reason your dog has, you cannot get good contact with these contact points, so you can try the ones that it comes with, the extra longer ones. If your dog has really thick fur or really long fur, you may need to purchase additional contact points to switch these ones out because it's just going to work a lot better. So if you go onto eCollar Technology's website, you'll find a variety of contact points and they have descriptions and you can figure out what you're looking for. But actually, to make it really simple, there's really only 2 kinds that I use. So one for thick and long fur, if I really can't get it to work with these ones, I'll go for the winged contact points, and those work pretty much across the board. I don't have to worry about all the other contact points that they might have, and I'll just use those, and I'll shimmy it in the fur, and it works fantastic. The other option that you'll need to kind of be aware of is if your dog has very little fur, like a lot of pitties or Great Danes, boxers, things like that, they have really little fur, and so wearing something like this might not be as comfortable for them. It'll work, but they do have another option where they have a comfort pad, and it's going to be 4 contact points that are on there, and it's just going to sit a lot nicer on their neck. Okay, so there's that option too. All right, so you'll need to figure out what works best for your dog, and definitely, you're gonna have to order those ahead in order for before you can start your training with your dog. So keep that in mind. Okay, so again, on your box, we have our charging port right here. That's this guy right here. So you're going to flap that open, and that's where you can put in your charging connector. Okay, so that's that. Keep it closed when you're not charging it, and your remote has the same flap there. This way your devices are completely waterproof, so you can go in the river, in the ocean, in the rain, bathe your dog, whatever you want to do. This will not get damaged. It will not harm your dog by any means. Okay, it'll be completely safe. You also may want to check your screws on your box from time to time. If you do a lot of water activities, I would just double check them. Maybe like once a month, something like that. Make sure that they're good and solid in there so that you don't damage your receiver. Okay? Now, how do you turn on this thing? Okay, well, let's grab our remote. This is what us trainers call the eCollar Kiss. So you'll notice that on these 2 devices, you got a remote and you got your collar. They both have this red dot, okay? We're gonna kiss those 2 together, just like so. We're gonna wait for our green light to flash, just like that. Okay, so now the device is on. We'll kiss it again, and the red light flashes, so it means the device is off. But we'll do it again because we're doing stuff. Green light is now on. So your receiver, your box is turned on. We're ready to go. Okay, so now we're going to turn on our remote. When our remote on, they turn on and off separately. Remember, separate devices, okay? So we're going to get our remote. We're going to flip it around, okay? And the big black button on the back okay, is what we're going to hold down. Okay, it even says on off. It says light 2, don't be confused. This is an on-off switch for the remote and an on-off switch for a light feature, which I will go over next. But first, let's turn on and off our remote. So I'm going to hold down this black button, okay? So I'm going to hold it down, and it turned on, okay? So you can see that right there. Now the flash is on. If I want to turn it off, I hold down that black button again, and it is off. All right, so there we go, but we're turning it on because, you know, we're doing things. Okay, so now it is on again. Now, if I wanted to use the light feature, I tap that black button, okay? Watch this. Tap. Now I get a light. It's a flashlight. It's a night light. I tap it again. Now I get a solid light. I tap it again. It's off. Okay, so in case you do stuff at night with your dog, it's a nice little feature. Okay, so now we have both devices on. We're ready to go. But we're not ready to train yet. We gotta go over a few more things. Sorry. Okay, so now we're gonna keep looking at our remote, in which, by the way, these two lights, the green, these little light things down here on your remote and on your box, they will flash green periodically. Your screen may light up blue when it's in use, things like that. That's all well and good. If they start to flash an orangey or red light, it means your battery's dying and you need to put it on your charger. Okay? So right here is your vibrate button, okay? And it can also be switched to a tone. I personally don't really use them very much. I don't know if you can hear that, but it is vibrating as I am pressing it. If you notice too, the red light is flashing because I'm pressing the button, okay? So that's your vibrate. You said it's tone. If that's something you want to get into, you can research that, you know, off on your own. But we're not going to be using it in this training style. All right, your other buttons right here, continuous and momentary. Those are what those stand for. Black is momentary, red is continuous. On your screen, it reads an M and a C on those letters. We want to make sure that those two letters are always on your screen because that means it's set to the settings that we are going to be using this device for. I'm not going to bore you with all the different settings on here. Again, that can be something else you do on the side. You can read the manual if you need to, if you want to. But we want those two letters on the screen, as well as the 1D that is on the top. That stands for one dog. Not super important, but just so you know, that's what that means. And then you have the number in the middle, which is of course the level that it is currently set to. If you dial it all the way till it stops, you're going to get to 100. It's going to say hi, okay? But otherwise, for the majority of our training, we're going to be keeping it low. But just so you know, it goes all the way up to 100. So that's 0 to 100 levels for us to use, okay? Now, if ever those two letters MC are not on your screen, you're going to flip your remote and you're going to press down the MC button on the back, okay? And you're going to press it until you get both letters back on your screen. Simple as that, all right? So to make this really easy and not worry about all the different buttons on this device, we're really just going to be using one button, and that is the bright red button right there, okay? So whenever we need to be using this device, we're just going to be pressing the red button. Reason being is because you can tap it if you need to. You can tap it if you need to, okay? Or I can hold it down if I need to, okay? And we'll talk about that as far as when you need to be tapping, when you need to be holding, all that kind of stuff, okay? And it will go on for up to 10 seconds, and then it will automatically shut off just as it did right there, okay? And if you need to press it on longer, okay, well, you just tap it again, right? You continue holding it. The momentary, if I press that, if I tap it, or I hold it, either way, it's only going to be a moment of stimulation. Versus the continuous, I can tap or I can hold, and the stimulation will continue for as long as I hold it, up to 10 seconds. Okay? So we're going to stick with our red button. We're going to go over when you're going to press it, how long you're going to press it, why you're going to press it, all that kind of stuff. Don't worry about that quite yet. Again, this is just how it works, okay? So you'll notice they both flash red together. This is when you know they're communicating with each other. Now, if you're working your dog ever and you notice, hey, I don't think they're responding or anything, make sure they're both on. This is a really common mistake, okay? Always check your tools. Make sure your battery's good. Make sure they're both on. Make sure you have a good fit. All these things, okay? Really, really important. Now, how much do you need to be putting this on your dog? How often? For how long? That's important, okay? Especially within this beginning of your training with e-collar for the next month, several months really, okay? But even more so within the next week or two as you begin your phase 1 of e-collar training. So I want this device, I want this collar on your dog as much as possible. My kind of rule of thumb is your dog wakes up in the morning, before you let them out of their crate, I put on the collar. Before they exit the door of the crate, I put the collar on, we're ready to go, I got my remote on me, and it's on for the rest of the day. From morning till night, I want the collar on, with some exceptions. If you're going to work and you're going to be gone a long period of time, 6, 8 hours, what have you, take it off. They don't need it, right? You're not even there to engage the device. So leave it off. Leave it off at night when they're in the crate. If you're not awake to use it, don't put it on. Anytime they're in the crate, whether it's a half hour or a few hours, you're more than welcome to take it off and give them a break, with it off. Okay, that's kind of up to you. If I'm not gone that long and, or if they're going to be in the crate for just, minimal amount of time, I'm just going to leave it on because that's just way more convenient for me than to put it on and take it off, okay? But essentially the rule is if they are free, if they are outside of their crate, they need to have the collar on. Why? One, I want them to get used to wearing it. I need this to be a tool that they understand and that they're familiar with and that they get comfortable with having, that it's just a part of their everyday life, okay? It's like putting on their clothes every day. The collar comes on, okay? Secondly, I want to have as many opportunities as possible to train with it, right? So yes, you're going to have your 15-20 minutes a day that you're actively training, and you're going to have your walk and things like that, where obviously I want you to have this on at those times. But what about throughout the day, as you may have them sit or come to you or go practice place command, or when you let them out to go potty and you want them to wait at the door? What about if they bark out the window, or they misbehave, or they go on the furniture? We want this tool in play, that way we can communicate with our dogs effectively and start troubleshooting more and more and more and get the reliable obedience that we're looking for. So have it on throughout your day as you're home and they are free, okay? Now there are exceptions too when they are in the crate. If your dog has separation anxiety, if they're whining, barking in the crate, if they're scratching at the floor, if they're, they're batting at the door and they're, kind of being butt heads in the crate, hey, leave it on, because then we can start troubleshooting poor behavior in the crate with the use of your e-collar. So those are a few exceptions. Chances are that, once you address that for, say, a few days, or depending on how serious it is, of course, you probably won't have to have the e-collar on forever when they're in the crate. More so, we're going to focus on it being on outside of the crate. So hopefully that makes sense. If you're questioning whether or not, what works best for your dog, you can always message me. But just know, I want this on as much as possible. Don't just put it on when you're actively training or just when you're going on walks. I want it on inside the house, in the yard, when you're going places. Because those are all training moments. Remember, every moment, every interaction you share with your dog is a training moment. So be ready. With that being said, this needs to be on you, right? It needs to be convenient. If it's sitting over on the counter and you're, lounging on the couch and the dog barks, or does something you don't like, you want to be quick with your timing, right? You don't want to have to be like, oh, it's over there, forget it, it's a lost moment, right? Well, then your dog's learning they can get away with things. So be consistent with using the tools, be consistent with your rules, be consistent with having this on you and being prepared. Remember, you're in training mode, okay? So be ready, all right? Really, really important, especially through this phase 1, but even, of course, going on to phase 2 of e-collar. You will learn all about those phases of what I'm talking about, but just know, this is a really important piece to your e-collar training, is keeping it familiar with your dog. All right, so just a few small other things just for you to know and be aware of. Like I was mentioning, the brand e-collar Technologies is a really great brand. So if you ever need help as far as technologically speaking, you can always reach out to them with questions if you're having any errors with your device. They also provide accessories like collars and belt clips, lanyards, things like that. If you want to, if you want an accessory to help keep the remote on you, they have accessories for that. You can also purchase colors, different colors of skins. If that's your jam, you want to be a little fun, you can do that. And they also have the contact points and other things, like in case maybe your antenna breaks, they have antennas that they will sell you. So whatever it is, feel free to kind of peruse the website. If there's anything you want to be purchasing when you get your e-collar, there are some extras there for you. Otherwise, it's time to get into our e-collar training. So go ahead and move on to the next lesson, and let's get into phase 1 of e-collar.